It is March 25th, and I am here at the home of Sylvia Paulsen, who identifies as a Mexican American, and she's agreed to ask or answer a few questions for me. So, first off, what benefits or privileges are typical for being a member of your diverse group?
Well, there aren't a lot, but there are some. One of the things that with being Mexican American is that my children were given scholarships for diversity. So even in the private colleges that my two older sons attended, they did get scholarships for being Mexican American descent. So that for undergrad work. So that's one of the only things that I can really think of that benefited us particularly.
Well, following up on that, what drawbacks or challenges do you think affect your identity group?
Right now, politically, the biggest thing is people immigrating, Mexicans immigrating to the United States. And I'm not against immigration if it's done within the law. And even though that's not the way my mother came across the border illegally and was deported, and this was when she was very young. She and her family were deported several times until they found a benefactor who would be their supporter, so that they could stay in the United States. And basically they said, we will make sure that this family is taken care of, that they will be employed by us, and that we will work on getting their legal documentation. So I think there's a way to do it, and I think it's hard for people who come across the border illegally, because not only are they afraid, but really they shouldn't be allowed benefits of that people who are legal. But sometimes there's not a choice, and especially if they have a family and children in school, or if they come over here and they have a child born in the United States, then it is, they can get maybe food stamps. I know they can get stuff done at the health department, shots, immunizations, help in that way. And I think it's very difficult in my aspect of, as a Mexican American, to be supportive of people who come over illegally, because I'd like to see a way for it to be done legally, and not so hard. And I understand that the government has to have limitations. I don't know that they can actually do a background check, because there's such poverty in Mexico, and so many people are just trying to get out of poverty and want a better life for themselves and their families.
What are some of the most important or vivid historical events of your group's past that you can think of?
I can relate to a lot of that. One particular is that my parents were immigrant workers. They were both. Well, my mother had a green card. My dad was born in the States, in Texas. And so when I was born, they decided to move to California to work in the fields. And they both got jobs as migrant workers. And they worked in the grape fields in Madera, California. And then cotton, in the off season. So there was always something growing, and there were always, since they were legal, they could get employment. And along with, if they got onto a good farm, they were provided with housing along with payment. So I can relate to that. I remember one summer, I didn't know at that time why my parents had chosen to walk off the farm and go to Washington State to pick cherries. But that was during the period of Cesar Chavez and the strikes. My parents couldn't afford to strike, they needed the money. And so, and I think Cesar Chavez did a great job in bringing out the notification to others that immigrant workers weren't all illegal immigrants, that migrant workers were considered Americans or had green cards, were here legally, and they shouldn't be treated any different than somebody else. And so that's definitely something that I can relate to. Something else I can relate to was when, was it Ronald Reagan who, I can't remember which president, who did amnesty to give people who were here illegally, to allow them to become legal citizens. And my mother always thought she would always be a Mexican citizen, but during that she decided to study and to take the test to become legalized. So she's been a legal American since, gosh, probably in 1980s.
Okay, going off of that, especially with the Cesar Chavez part, you said discrimination and everything. How do you feel about any stereotypes that are attributed to your group?
There are a lot of stereotypes, and a lot of them, I have to say, can be valid. Because people come over from Mexico, because there's such a big drug war in Mexico. People come over to the United States illegally, bringing drugs with them, and you look at Mexicans and you automatically think, well, they're going to beat me up, they're going to, steal from me, they're going to give my kids drugs, and unfortunately, it's true. A lot of them are. So I can see and I can understand why people would be afraid. Another stereotype is that, and this was kind of strange because knowing all my uncles and my dad, I determined I would not date a Mexican man because they look at their wives as being inferior. They're just there to clean the house, make the food, and have kids, and that's it. And what a Mexican man says goes. And that's still, unfortunately, a lot of it. I have a cousin who will get up every morning and make her husband fresh flour tortillas for the day, and pack his breakfast, pack his lunch, but she does it out of love, not because he demands it. And he's a wonderful Christian man, and I think there's a difference, between as generations go on, that will eventually go away, I hope.
Just been raised in a way that they are taught that that's how you show affection to your family, or by
the man is the he's the head of the household, and the woman has nothing to say about it.
What sort of prejudice have you experienced in the past, and how have you reacted to that, if any?
There's always going to be prejudice because I remember in school, the school I went to in Texas was a little bitty school outside of Dallas, Texas, and there were only three Mexican families in the whole town. So, being referred to as a beaner, was typical. I never felt that I was like good enough because of the way that all the it seemed like all the white girls looked down on me because I was dark. And I always felt a little prejudice from the teachers. I remember I just idolized this one teacher, and then I realized that she really didn't like me. And it just kind of crushed me. It was like 6th grade. And I realized it just from her attitude. Like, she didn't want to be bothered by having to answer my questions.
That's got to be hard.
It is. And even in Elizabeth, and, you know, my kids have gone through various stages in school where they were looked down on. And it's like, you have to try harder. It seems you have to try harder to be accepted, which I think is sad.
And do you think that you would react differently to that today, or it would be the same for you?
I think I react differently to it now because the culture has changed in that people are embracing their heritage. You know, you see the Black Lives Matter, you know, Blue Lives Matter, all of that. People are looking into their DNA now and seeing where they come from, because everybody comes from somewhere. And personally, knowing a second language is a wonderful asset.
It's a huge benefit.
It is. I was able to go out from being a stay-at-home mom for years, go out and find 2 part-time jobs because they were just hiring part-time just because I spoke Spanish. And because of that, I mean, I had a job in one day. You know, most men can't go out and find a job in one day. And so I had 2 part-time jobs, which eventually led to a full-time job, you know, with you know, wonderful pay, wonderful benefits. So, and I was able to do things on both languages. So
That's awesome. Okay. How would you feel as a human service professional if you had to work with people from other diverse groups? Anything ranging from like teachers, social workers, counselors, things like that?
You know, I think in that position, there really shouldn't be any distinction between what color we are, you know, what level of income we have. It's sad that there often is a distinction, but there shouldn't be. If you're in a position like that, you should be unbiased totally. And I think it's important when you are studying for your career to do that. And I have a daughter who is a mental health therapist, and she sees all kinds of people, and to her there's not a distinction between black, white, poor, rich, you know, somebody with mental health issues, somebody who just has, you know, maybe dependency issues or drug issues, you know, abuse issues. Everybody is the same on the inside. Everybody should be treated the same, no matter what their nationality is.
Great. Well, thank you for talking with me today. It was nice hearing your perspective, especially when you've only had one worldview your whole life. It's interesting to hear other people's perspectives on these things.
Right. Well, I appreciate you asking me.
Well, thank you.